The family motto is Concordia Integritas Industria. Concordia means harmony, Integritas is honesty, integrity. And I think Industria is not industry as one usually says when one translates it. It's more industrious, it's hard work. So what is the firm about? Not squabbling. If you want to have a collegiate atmosphere, which is what happens at Rothschild, is being concerned by your neighbor and not exclusively concerned by yourself. And like in every business, industrious means working extraordinarily hard because one lives in a hugely competitive environment and one has to thrive to excellence or one doesn't exist. This is probably the reason of the success of my ancestors. And it has gone through the decades, the generations, because every manager, family member was obsessed by hiring people smarter than himself rather than hiring people not as good as him in order to look at the mirror and saying, I'm a genius. So we've spent an enormous amount of time trying to be surrounded by the best. For a number of years, I've been asked by our HR department to address the graduates, which is a session I hugely enjoy. When you get to my age, at this stage of my career, being in front of young, talented people is obviously very stimulating. What I'm impressed with when I spend an hour and a half with those young people is how remarkably brilliant, mature, and sophisticated they are, which leads me to believe that the best of the class would like to come to Rothschild, and that's obviously a subject of pride. The group chief executive, Nigel Higgins, who's just over 50 years old, has started his career a bit more than 25 years ago here as a graduate, and is the chief executive. It shows that even in a family firm, where people think sometimes that if there's a family around, all the jobs will be given to family members even if they're not qualified, and therefore graduates should look for jobs elsewhere. It's exactly the opposite. The mixture between the discipline that hierarchy imposes on people with the necessary freedom to blossom is something we factor in. In other terms, you can never get someone very good if you spend your time checking his diary and breathing down his throat. You have to start from the basis that people are trustworthy, and the more you trust them, the better they are. Talent has to be rewarded, has to be recognized, has to be promoted, while keeping an atmosphere which is sufficiently collegiate so that you stay a team rather than a collection of separate individuals. And I think this is probably one of the numerous explanations of why we're still around. It's not for me to talk about success, because it's a slightly arrogant word, but it's certainly something that explains longevity. I think what we're good at is developing people's strength.